It just swam right down. There's little fish hanging out of its mouth.
And did he circle you before he went down?
He sort of came round in a bit of a circle, then rolled on its side. I came up onto its dorsal fin, quite close, and just sort of rolled over like this. Had a couple of looks, we went around the front, and then just slowly descended down.
It's funny, their big pectorals, I guess they make their width about 8-9 feet. They just seem to, paraglide along. And we're all struggling to keep up while they're just swimming there.
Got these tiny little yellow fish that live in and around their fins. You can start to dive down, then slowly crept back up again. And then just swam around. And then for whatever reason, just took off and went down.
When I swam, really, it was right up in front of him, so I knew that he could see me, and I was a bit worried about scaring him off. And so you sort of don't want to look at them in case this eye contact, might frighten them away, something really stupid, like if you look at them. So I just looked straight into his eye, and his eye went, sort of, had a good look at me, went back and then forward, then back and forward. We started looking at each other for about 5 minutes, and then he just looked forward and kept on swimming, and that was great. There's a unique place in the central coast of Western Australia that's called Ningaloo Reef, and it's the largest fringing coral reef in Australia. And it's bizarre that at this particular location, whale sharks have been seen on and off for the last 10 years coming in close to the coast.
At times when it rains, it's incredibly beautiful with wildflowers and lush green growth, and then it can dry off and be a place that resembles more or less a desert. There are a lot of gullies and little gutters running through it, which make it really interesting. It looks like a network of little canyons running in towards the coast. And of course you get a lot of fish life congregating in those little gutters, and if you swim up and down those, it's like you're actually flying through canyons and chasing birds along.
Sharks can grow up to 12 metres or 45 feet, and an animal of that size would weigh nearly 11 tonnes.
There's very little work being done on whale sharks in any form, and so things like how deep do they go and where do they travel to are really sketchy. There is one large predator that we know about, which hopefully we think is extinct, called Megalodon. And this was a relative of the great white shark, and this shark grew to the size of a whale shark, and some of them may have even been larger.
The great white shark grows to about 19 feet, the basking shark, a filter feeder, grows to 30 feet, and the whale shark, the king of them all, grows to about 45 feet. Whale sharks are like giant vacuum cleaners. They feed by sucking water into their gigantic mouth, taking out the plankton and getting rid of the water through their gills. And it's simply a suction feeding motion. They have over 3,500 teeth, but to all intents and purposes, they don't use them. Their real food source comes from the plankton, the microscopic plankton in the water.
No one really knows how much they eat in a day, but scientists have guesstimated from the size of the animal that they would have to eat about 50 kilos of food a day.
It's thought that whale sharks come to Ningaloo Reef as part of an incredible food chain event caused initially by coral spawning.
corals are a really very primitive animal, and what's going to happen tonight, hopefully, anyway, is that the egg and sperm bundles that have sort of been growing over the last 9 months are actually going to be pulled up underneath the polyp mouth and then slowly forced up into it. And then you'll see what we call setting, which can go for about half an hour, where the bright red eggs and white sperm areas are actually bundled up under the polyp, and they'll sit there waiting until the right time, and then more or less simultaneously over the whole colony, they'll start releasing. And they're highly buoyant, and so when they're released, they float up to the surface, and they'll sit at the surface of the sea, and then the egg and sperm bundles will break apart, and then fertilisation will occur.
Dr. Peter Harrison is a marine biologist who, once a year, 4 days after the full moon, goes into absolute raptures about coral spawning.
When Peter told us that we were going down at a particular time of night to watch the coral spawning, we thought he was crazy.
Well, I guess corals for most of the year are incredibly boring animals. They sit there and they grow and they sort of photosynthesize and they make the reef. But on just a few nights each year, they do something really spectacular. It's an underwater snowstorm that they produce, and everyone who's seen it says that it's probably the most spectacular marine event that you can see in the world.
It tastes like heaven. This is the police! Stop where you are! But would you kill for it? Ice cream.
Is anything going on?
A case well worth savouring.
What sort of people hold up an ice cream boat?
Blokes with crushed nuts?
Water Rats, Tuesday.
The special edition Jeep Grand Cherokee TSI is now available. But hurry, stock is strictly limited.
It's Australia's favourite morning paper because thick, soft sorbent is the gentlest way to start the day.
Some people think the Swedes have only one thing on their minds. And with IKEA sofas starting from only $299, who can blame them? IKEA, it's all the Swedes ever think about.
The CES has been replaced with a better way to help get unemployed people jobs. Over 300 private, community and government organisations competing to connect the right person to the right job. The new Job Network.
This has been a stunning race so far.
Will it be Sonny Mariba of Kenya who takes out the 2000 marathon?
Nigerian Batate's right on his heels.
Well, it still looks like a two-man race for
Although
gold.
we shouldn't rule out this man, Gavin Carpenter, AMP Financial Advice. Really trained hard. What is a superb athlete?
Gavin Carpenter believes dreams can come true. That's why Gavin's really proud that his AMP is a major sponsor of the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games.
AMP?
AMP.
Waiting for coral spawning is an interesting experience because you know what's about to happen, but you're sitting patiently in total darkness, underwater, wondering when on earth this thing is going to take place because you really don't see anything. release of the egg and sperm bundles, you're in this massive pink snowstorm, and then the whole sea just goes crazy. You get all these polychaete worms and small fish, and anything and everything that can eat these things is zooming around. And so if you turn a light on, it's like attracting moths to a light on a summer's night. You're just surrounded by this writhing mass of creatures.
Exmouth is the closest town to Ningaloo Reef, and the town isn't there because of the whale sharks. It's there because the Americans decided to build a radio transmitting station. So you have this bizarre array of antennae stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Around autumn every year, Exmouth experiences this great influx of tourists who come to do whale shark diving.
I guess, in a way, the whale shark and the great white, of all the fishes, have the greatest presence. It's almost holy.
Something so big and so gentle, and you can get so close to it. You know, there's nothing like it on this planet.
They're very big. They are very big, but just eating plankton is amazing.
I think why they come is just to see the animal out of curiosity, but they have no idea where they come from, where they go to, how big they are.
Maybe far away.
Another planet?
Yes, maybe.
Well, I honestly don't really know. I think they would head up north in around Indonesia and places like that.
I like to think they spend some time in deep water, living in a quite different lifestyle to this surface one. But whether that's related to feeding, mating, birthing, these are all mysteries.
Jeff Taylor first saw whale sharks over 10 years ago when he was living in Exmouth, and he fell in love with them. He strove to find out more about them and really was the forefather of whale shark research. He will take all sorts of homemade equipment into the water to try and find out more about them, measuring their dorsal fins, taking photos, all sorts of things. He really is obsessed with the fish.
Hopefully, over a period of about 10 years, we'll learn how fast the whale sharks are growing, and that will give us the age of the sharks, and we'll also, by observing their genitals, we'll know at what age they become sexually mature. Initially, we had all sorts of theories as to why they were here, that they might be migrating, that they might be coming in to mate. But in fact, most of our early theories have been disproven by the research that we've undertaken since. And of course, the discovery of coral spawning on the coast at this time of year really put paid to all those early theories. And we now believe that it's really the coral spawning and the huge amount of food that's released into the water by the spawning of the reef and spawning of other species such as fish and mollusks that brings the whale sharks into Ningaloo Reef each year.
We decided to take scientists with us to Ningaloo Reef to try and find out something more about the whale sharks while we were there. The science team were experts in tagging and tracking sharks. Not whale sharks in particular, but certainly knew more than anyone about how to go about tracking an animal in the wild.
This is the closest point here of the continental shelf. Okay, so the big problem then, first of all, is to get the tag into the shark. So that's what this array of nasty looking things you've got here is all about.
Well, the basic idea is to have this trailing from some type of attachment mechanism. So we've thrown a number of ideas in the way of attachment mechanisms down on the table here. Basically, because they have a very, very thick skin, we've got to have something that's strong enough to pierce it.
Whereabouts are you actually going to aim to put the tag? Is there any specific spot, or does it really not matter?
Well, I think below the first dorsal fin, just on its back, is usually the standard position for putting game fish tags, and I think that's probably the best place to try.
There is an incredible procedure that has to take place to find a whale shark. You cannot do it without a plane and a boat and various people to actually sight the whale shark from the boat. And so it becomes this incredible routine of plane giving directions, boat following directions, and then hopefully getting a sight on one shark and dropping someone in over the back. The scientists had some idea of where to put the tag on the shark, and they thought it was simply a matter of putting the harpoon into the shark's back. Unfortunately, it was a dismal failure.
Well, that didn't work. That wasn't a good one at all. But notice once again, the shark barely flinched. It made a bit of a move and then just stopped. So it's not hurting it. Either it's gone in and come straight out. I can't really tell as I go.
I really don't think that.
No.
Don't think it had the penetration.
No, I'm not surprised because I would have thought they would have gone right through.
The front, the leading edge of it is really quite solid and hard. But if you feel back, it tapers away to a very...
So you got to touch it?
Yeah. I went down and I felt it all. But I think if you went sort of in the middle of that fin, where it's thicker meaty,
geographical middle.
Snorkel down, grab hold of the fin and just
push it through. Wow.
You might need a little bit more force than that, but I think it should be possible.
The skipper, Hugh Morrison, had warned us about the tail of the whale shark. It can get up to 10 feet high, and working so close to the animal would be dangerous. Ironically, he was the one that was hit.
When it hit him in the side, it cracked a couple of his ribs.
Oh, God.
See, I can see that tail coming straight
I know,
through.
I could actually too. I can see it coming too.
You can feel it.
No, I can see it. And there's nowhere I could go. Oh.
Dangerous stuff.
Oh, right on the roof.
Trying to do that.
Monday at 9 News exclusive.
I thought this can't possibly be happening to me.
A Perth man's desperate fight to save others from tragedy.
An inspirational story of courage.
A moving special report, Monday in 9 News.
Since 1827, Casa Buitoni has inspired authentic Italian cuisine. And now we bring you a new type of frozen pizza. Buitoni Generosa with rising crust. You don't just heat it up, you bake it fresh for the first time. Crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. New Buitoni Generosa with rising crust. From Casa Buitoni, share the Italian love of food.
Only Ford Explorer has Control Track, a system that senses any loss of traction and automatically engages four-wheel drive. Ford Explorer, the intelligent four-wheel drive from $39,990 drive away.
Like to stack the odds in your favour? Then don't just pick a Slikpik this Saturday. Pick a Slikpik 18 and give yourself more chances to win.
We can cut your foam and rubber too at Clark.
And we have 2 sofa beds in quality jacquard fabric, just $649, plus a bonus comforter, pillows and pillowcases. It's real value at your nearest Clark Rubber store.
Only Ford Explorer has Control Track, a system that senses any loss of traction and automatically engages 4-wheel drive. Ford Explorer, the intelligent 4-wheel drive from $39,990 drive away.
To protect whale sharks, we need to find out more information, where they come from, where they go to. And right now, this is the only way to do it. Tag's beautifully in, it's fine.
I came right up within a couple of feet and it didn't worry at all. Probably doesn't even know it's there.
Once the tag was in and the system was working, we wanted to see how far we could track the shark.
We're very, very interested in whether these whale sharks that appear at Ningaloo each March and April coral spawning event time actually are residents of this area, or whether they're actually from other parts of the Indian Ocean or even from other oceans.
Not much is known about the movement of whale sharks, but at least in Western Australia, it is thought that they follow the warm water current called the Lewin Current that runs down the coast in the autumn months. This satellite image shows the red of the Lewin Current flowing southward to be met by a colder current which turns it back on itself.
Anybody seen him?
Down about 60 now, 12 o'clock, mate. Coming up to him pretty quickly.
About 60 metres or so.
Yeah, 60, 70,
So it'll be about 100 metres. I'm getting 0 readings. Must be right on surface.
Wild animals are always difficult to track. The main reason is you don't know what they're going to do. It could possibly go for hundreds of miles, and so once you're committed to that tracking exercise, you're also committed to going wherever that animal goes.
To obtain any useful information about where a whale shark goes, you have to track it for at least 24 hours. The trick is to stay awake that long. Tracking a whale shark at night is very difficult. The only thing you have to go by is the slow beep from the transmitter.
Still on the surface. That's why we're not getting a very good signal.
That way?
About right.
Tracking the shark meant an ordeal for everyone because we had to stay up all night.
Just head straight into the wind, mate. We're going beam on at the moment. Have to start a grid search pattern if it's like this. Alright, if you could just hold it towards the wind, hold it in the wind if you can. You should be able to see that on the sea there. You can beam on again.
With the rough seas, it was hard work keeping the whale shark in range, but we didn't want to get too close in case we influenced its natural behaviour.
At one stage during the evening, the whale shark was feeding, and so immediately after that, we took out our plankton net and put it in the water to see if we could scoop up whatever it was that the shark was feeding on.
Keep going, keep going.
The plankton net is a very simple device. It just has a large opening with a very fine gauge mesh net, and at the end of it a collecting device. So you run this thing through the water, trolling behind the boat, and it gathers up whatever is in the water column. You pull it back into the boat, unscrew the bottom part of the net and tip out what you've collected.
On board!
Plankton is essentially the larval forms of many of the creatures that live in the ocean. Things like crabs and fishes all have larval stages which are small enough to be defined as plankton.
On a current affair endangering the health of your family.
Very excessive bacteria counts.
We show you the bugs and poisons lurking in your fridge.
I feel terrible.
The scientific test which will change the way you run your kitchen.
That would be closed down by the health department.
Plus, phone range. Why being put on hold drives us crazy.
For God's sake, I've just got through to the company.
Our survey reveals why service in Perth is Australia's worst.
Quite appalling levels of incompetence.
Nissan presents A Current Affair this week on 9.
The special edition Jeep Grand Cherokee TSI is now available. But hurry, stock is strictly limited.
It's true for this month only. Buy 6 litres of Valvoline for the everyday price of 5 litres.
The new Scratch and Win Solitaire ticket could win you up to $50,000. And because it's a long play game, you'll be doing a lot more scratching.
When you need a break, the delicious flavours of Continental Cup-a-soup will stop the world for an instant.
Nobody makes soup in a cup.
Next.
The Continental Cup-a-soup.
It is perhaps our most impressive safety advance ever. A Volvo that can save your soul. Introducing the all-wheel drive cross-country from Volvo.
By early the next morning, everyone was totally exhausted. It was a long, drawn-out process. The results of the tracking were quite interesting. The whale shark had done 2 enormous loops around the outside of Ningaloo Reef. It had a very defined pattern, as if it was searching for food in some kind of current eddy.
The work that's been done here is, I think, a first step towards looking at movement patterns, understanding what's been happening with the animals. Our tracking work, seeing an animal do the same beat twice over a 24-hour cycle, basically doing a run up and down the reef, around a reef passage, gives the people here a feel for what their home range, at least over a short period, is.
The final task of the expedition was to attach archival tags to as many whale sharks as possible.
The archival tag has in its armoury the ability to allow us to estimate the position of an animal. So we can look at migration patterns over days and weeks of a whale shark, which is something that nobody's ever been able to do before. So we're throwing the newest technology, or some of the newest technology, at a very, very interesting animal.
What we wanted to do was actually get in the water, and if they dived, we could dive. If they swam fast, we could go fast. And it was obvious to us we needed to put our large Aquazept scooter in the water, which then enabled us to keep up with the shark for as long as we wished. It was great fun. I mean, that was the best fun of all, especially when we were hovering along the bottom. We're probably doing 1 to 2 knots, cruising 2 or 3 feet off the bottom with this massive fish, and you're free to swim with it. That was the best fun of all.
Well, the whale sharks are a tremendous resource for the town here at Exmouth, and huge numbers of tourists are coming in to see them each year now. And really the danger is that the resource itself will be destroyed. The evidence we have suggests that the whale sharks are just basking on the surface in the warm waters during the daytime, and that they're mainly feeding at night. And of course most of these whale sharks are immature. They are only 6, 7, 8 metres long, and they're sexually immature, so they aren't mating here at Ningaloo. So it's very unlikely that the tourism will actually affect the whale sharks in any serious biological sense. And the danger is that we'll destroy the tourist resource, that whale sharks will learn to fear boats and fear divers, and every time someone tries to approach them, they'll disappear.
Down the coast, though, are a group of wild animals that don't appear to have been affected by contact with people.
Shark Bay is an interesting place because it's like a large wildlife enclosure.
Our location was at the 1035, several hundred meters northwest of the first pole, and 3618, baby stops the snag. Stops the snag, 3734.
Shark Bay is home to literally hundreds of bottlenose dolphins, and Janet Mann for the last 7 years has been studying these animals.
Well, initially it was terribly difficult. I really had no clue as to what was going on. They don't have any facial expressions. It's hard to understand what they're thinking at any given time, and to develop a methodology that's systematic.
A lot more is known about dolphins than whale sharks. Janet and her colleagues have found out a great deal of information about the dolphins of Shark Bay. Although male dolphins can form lifetime friendships, the mothers and calves are the focus of each group. Dolphins breathe voluntarily, so they have to sleep with half their brain awake, otherwise they drown. They communicate by a complex system of clicks and whistles. You can actually hear the sounds when you're underwater. They have huge brains, and Janet's team believes dolphins evolved these to cope with the complex nature of their society, or to develop their amazing range of feeding skills.
There are a couple of researchers who have stumbled across an interesting thing which occurs with some of the wild dolphins, and that is that they pick up sponges off the bottom of the seabed and travel with them in their beak. For what reason, we're not sure, but it appears as if they're using it as some sort of tool.
Weather update proudly brought to you by Radiant Laundry Detergent. Concentrate and save.
The first day of winter tomorrow, and look at that. A few showers on the way, particularly in the morning. Some more Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday it's really going to get chilly.
The government says they're too young.
Girls were coming up to me going, have you slept with him yet?
Now the truth.
We used to have competitions, how many guys we've had sex with.
What our kids really get up to.
Do you know what love is?
Lust, yes. Love, no.
Next on 60 Minutes.
Since 1827, Casa Buitoni has inspired authentic Italian cuisine. And now we bring you a new type of frozen pizza. Buitoni Generosa with rising crust. You don't just heat it up, you bake it fresh for the first time. Crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. New Buitoni Generosa with rising crust. From Casa Buitoni, share the Italian love of food.
From just $37,990 with dual airbags and air conditioning standard, there's now an even better way to unwind. At participating Holden dealers.
People are saying organics is the best shampoo and conditioner they've ever used. But it leaves their hair soft and easier to manage. They say they can see their hair has body and shines with health from the roots up. They even say it happens overnight. How do we know this? Because they've told us. Try organics. If you're not satisfied, we'll refund your money.
Are you God?
No, I'm a messenger.
No one can see you unless you want them to.
Are you a visitor? Who are you visiting?
You.
I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand.
Nicolas Cage, Meg Ryan, City of Angels.
From just $37,990 with dual airbags and air conditioning standard, there's now an even better way to unwind. At participating Holden dealers.
Thursday, Getaway's guide to our top resorts. Sorrel explores the final frontier.
I can only hope my neighbours don't snore.
Is this Australia's best B&B? Plus satisfy that need for speed.
Need a new pair of pants, that's what we do.
Getaway on 9.
We went out to an oil rig to dive, really to see what effect an oil rig has on the environment. I mean, we all look at oil rigs and think of oil and think of oil spills and all the bad ill effects that come with that sort of thing. And yet oil is a very necessary thing. I mean, the fact that we went out there in a boat, it needed oil to get us there. And to my surprise, at least, the oil rig wasn't a sterile steel structure standing in the middle of the ocean. In fact, it was a harbour of an incredible amount of fish life.
The opportunity to dive with something like a whale shark or to swim with a wild dolphin is an extraordinary experience, and it's something I think we should protect and nurture. The simple act of loads of people coming to Western Australia to see these animals could have a direct and immediate effect on the animals themselves.
At heart, I wouldn't stop people swimming with whale sharks, nor would I think that was a good idea in the long run, because if people are ignorant to the existence of these animals, then they're also not affected in any way about preserving them.
Tonight, a delightful Sunday night at the movies premiere. When a 12-year-old finds the perfect partner for his single dad in a big city hooker, he begins a chain reaction that leads to love, money and the mob. Melanie Griffith and Ed Harris star in the television first, Milk Money, 8:30 tonight on 9. Stay with us now for 60 minutes.